First matchup that we got is going to be the Unknown. It's going to be very spooky, very scary. Bolitar going to be opening it up on the Cold Tower.
Yeah, based on the experience that you also just pointed out, I can even say that I've played with some of these players. So, Flix, Karma, Daimao, so the players for Severance and Synapse I have played with in the past on various teams. So it's amazing to see them here again and see how they've developed as well. So yeah, we've already got our first chase starting now with Bolitar tearing down the first wall in main building. He'll probably go around to breaking the other later in the trial too. And Unknown is, I want to say, sort of throwing a curveball because people always expect that this killer should do relatively well based on the fact he's got a ranged attack, but Unknown still has the lowest kill rate in our league so far. And I really would like to hear on your take on this, Edgar. Why do you think Unknown has gotten so much weaker? Is it because the players have just gotten so much better against him?
I think players always get better inevitably over time, and I think that Unknown is, I guess it will sound odd to say, but well designed in that there are very clear weaknesses that you can get. Obviously, you look at them, you can dispel that weakened effect. But if you spend all your time looking backwards, you don't look forward, you run into a massive block of wood, and then you get downed anyway. So it's going to be Manu getting down. Yeah, it's going to be Manu getting down pretty early. Should be being put on a Scourge Hook as well. If this can come through before this first gen, that would be some pretty good work, and it will.
Yep. Yeah, we get the perfect timing on that Pain Resonance there. That's exactly when you want it to be, right before that generator pops. So the survivors still have to commit to getting back on it, but I can imagine that Bolitar would try to get into the general area of that generator to force the survivors to leave it. Because, of course, even if you do it by the time the survivors didn't make the 5% hurdle, then it would continue regressing. Yeah, and that's exactly what we see right now as well, because Karma was a bit indecisive on that generator, didn't exactly know where Bolitar was heading to next. And I can imagine a player of his caliber is going to show us exactly why Unknown can struggle so much in these chases. Karma's hugging around the window tally and teleports away straight away after missing at least one of those UVX shots. I think there was a second, should have been in time, but yeah, Bolitar wastes no time, getting right back to his tunnel out onto Manu.
Yeah, Manu got taken off of Hook. It's always very, very risky to try and unhook against the Unknown because you can just be bullied out, right? Ruin going to be taken down on the other side of the map, so that's some slowdown that the members of Synapse aren't going to have to worry about for a little bit longer, and the pallet break allowed Manu to make some space. You know, against any killer with a solid chase power, the idea is always make as much distance as you can, but against the Unknown, that isn't necessarily the play. But you can also pull off sneaky little tricks and techs like that. Get yourself into Shack. Pallet is still dropped, so you went for a cheeky TP for Bolitar. You do end up forcing Manu into a little bit of a corner, so there's a lot more distance that needs to be made to reach any other kind of structure, and it doesn't seem like they're going to be making this pallet either, and so you are going to be taken down, but the rest of Synapse is going to be making a decent dent in the gens for it.
Oh
no! Ooh, come on, really?
Oh, I kicked Karma off the team. He just missed one of the... I already can tell what the players are thinking to themselves. One of the easiest pallet saves in existence, because Bolitar wasn't body blocking it at all, meaning that you wouldn't have to play around that. So if the killer's body blocking it, you need proper perfect timing. But yeah, when it's like that, usually players should get it. So bit of a letdown by Karma. Very unfortunate that he wasn't able to get that in time, and that has allowed Bolitar to get the second state onto Manu this early, when I believe that the Unknown should be struggling much more to get to be successful in the tunnel out. But Manu showed us an amazing display of what he can do against the Unknown on Shack. He's gonna run back to it as well. It's going to end up zoned. Yeah, it's going to be really difficult to get back out because he's already used up the precious resource here, and he's going to be stuck in the corner. Never mind, he makes it back out. But didn't expect him to actually commit to that vault, and Manu will find himself back at the God Rock. It's what 1v1 players love to referring to it, because if you play it patiently, then you should practically never go down on it against a 115 killer that's not using his ability. But here we see Bolitar abandoning the tunnel out here, actually focusing to Oh yeah, focusing back on Karma as he's already been injured and he wants to exert some global pressure here. It doesn't feel like the tunnel out is going to be efficient or come through in time. Karma redeems himself. You're winning the 50-50 on the L wall. And it seems like Bolita got a bit lost there. No, he tries to get back to Fabra, but he pops the generator in his face. Huge time loss for Bolita here. 3 out of 4 survivors injured, but he hardly has anything to come back to.
You run right back into Fabra, and that's amazing, because it means that you can get a hit. Karma got healed up in all of that shenanigans right there, and is able to then take another hit for Karma. They're doing a very good job of protecting Manu, right? You think about a hit's come through onto Fabra, hits come through onto Karma, but a hit and a hook has not come through onto Manu, so you still have that 4th member available, going to just be running gens over in the background. And even if you get a hook here onto Karma, what does it mean for you? Not a whole lot. Maybe a pain resonance, a minus 20%, but take your kill. That's what you need here. That's what you really want. In the meantime, reset's going to be coming through onto Manu, so you know that dead on hook survivor isn't going to be doing too bad for the time being.
A triple reset is a great indicator for us casters to basically convey that the generators won't have much progress, and they're focusing on resetting the overall state of the game. They've got Karma on the hook, there's not much gen pressure, but everybody's healed back up again, meaning they'll have a lot of options at their repertoire here. We see a very early unhook coming in from Zynox, who gets it successfully, but does take the clobberings in the meantime, which is probably going to allow Bolita to either get another fresh stage here and playing off that pain resonance, because I feel like that might be more important here than actually getting a tunnel out, which is exactly why Karma ends up taking the down altogether. Zynox would have provided our killer with another pain resonance, and we already saw Fabra on a generator that is quite far here. I think at the 60-ish percent. Oh, Manu, they're doubling it actually. Yeah, this is very close to popping, and all Bolita has to show off here are the fresh individual stages, but he's still struggling to get it down here. Once they pop this generator, we're most likely going to see Manu being more aggressive once again, because obviously there's going to be the least amount of stages gained by eliminating him from the trial. And yeah, we see Bolita committing to Fabra here, hopefully hoping to get another 3 stages out of it, but this is looking really grim, and I don't think Bolita can realistically come back from the pressure that our survivors have been exerting on these generators.
You're holding on to this generator, you look at the setup, and yes, all of the gens are on this bottom side of the map, but to call this a 3-gen would be generous for sure. And now you're taking the chase onto Manu, who is healthy, got reset way earlier, so it doesn't even matter if you can get a quick hit on, and even then, I don't think Manu's even going to make that task easy. That being said, you do end up teleporting back, catching... Yeah, you catch Fab with their pants down. It's a fresh hook, so it's always going to be a little valuable here for scoring. You get a pain resonance as well off the back of that for a hint more of the regression while you can. Manu's just going to take chase again. Karma and Zynox are both injured, so neither of them can necessarily get this save safely. But it doesn't matter if they don't matter out the save. Gens are what it's all about, and they're going to get that last gen completed in the nick of time.
Yeah, now Bolita is at a crossroads where he has to commit to the survivors that have the least amount of stages on them at the moment, and he's doing exactly that by going for Zynox here, the one that got away earlier in the game when Karma took the hit, and this will be the last remaining fresh, a solid 3 extra stages for Bolita, and now we see exactly what I was talking about earlier, where we see Manu run in, and oh yeah, he doesn't make it in time. Wonderful body block there. Manu did not allow to get a Bolita to get past whatsoever. One snipe could change it all, but it's going to miss. It is just too difficult to land with the unknown. And I feel like we're looking at a 4-man escape here. Did get a good amount of stages, but not even. Yeah, Karma makes it through the Hatchet Shack now too. Wow. Brutally well played here by Synapse. Really unexpected considering how well Severance have been doing on the unknown so far. But we still need to take into consideration that this great performance usually stems from their survivors. But of course, Bolita have been known to be an exceptional killer. But unknown is just so difficult nowadays to get a lot of stages on.
Yeah, it really is. That's going to be a really strong performance coming out there from
wow.
Synapse. I don't think we were expecting that. Only 4 hook stages end up going over. So yeah, 4 hook stages, every generator completed. I think we're going to be sending over to a quick break, and once we are back, we're going to be bringing the next stage through. Welcome back, everyone, and a number that we're going to point out here, 5 hook stages is what was acquired for the side of Severance in their killer round. 6.5 the average for the Unknown. So even for a killer who is already struggling, it seemed that Severance were struggling a hell of a lot more there. So Zynox is going to be opening it up here, trying to, you know, get this first down as soon as possible. You should feel pretty comfortable. You have a very good win condition to work with, 6 stages, and you are home 3 as well. But in the meantime, you have to look for your first hits. You're eventually able to get the first one through onto Cartney, who's in a little bit of an odd position right now as you go behind this wall. It's a 50-50 as whether the shot can land, but Cartney's legs just moving a little too quickly for those UVX shots for the time being. We're able to rotate back to this pallet, but sneaky little teleport comes through. That's finally an injure through onto Cartney. Interesting whether the first gen does get completed here, as this Nia is going to be here as a very obnoxious little fly with the sprint burst, I guess. Can get weakened up, but remember, weakened is not nearly as good as an injure, and you'd far rather take that. Zynox had an opportunity to hit there, but maybe some delayed reactions is what ended up occurring instead. Splitting this pressure is decent in the sense that you've now got 2 injures on the sides. Maybe over time this could help you out, but ultimately you need your down, you need your Scourge hook. If you can preferably get it before that first generator pops, then you are sitting pretty, but you aren't.
I was about to say, hats off to Zynox here, being there we go, being extremely patient with these UVXs, already getting 2 injures so quickly in the trial, and he could have eliminated Bolitar very early there as well, but the Miracle Man found his way out of another hard and tough situation somehow. It is going to be the first stage at 4 generators remaining, and we must once again emphasize that all Zynox needs is 6 stages overall, because the win condition is 6 stages, and as Bolitar was only able to get 5 stages in the previous game, but if it's one team that on the Survivor side can mechanically overpower or get past tough conditions, then it should be that the roster of Team Severance being very, very familiar with these Severance picks, considering that this is also their pick, once again, to point that out. So the 5 stages in the previous trial is certainly not what you would have expected from Bolitar's point of view, and now all we see Zynox doing is also just ensure that Bolitar goes to the second stage here, because any elimination before the last generator pops should just immediately render out a victory for Severance, because it would be so difficult to come back from a 3v1 once it is enforced by Zynox. We see Bolitar about to hit second stage here. Yep, there we go, as Zynox immediately teleports over to Shen to interrupt some of the gen progress here. Only has a TL wall available, does not give Zynox that immediate hit that he was hoping to achieve there. And yeah, he opts to immediately go back, and he does find Bolitar out of position. He only has the sprint burst available to skip to one of the safer tiles here. He's got the pellet gym available that he's going to pre-drop here. He wants to waste as much time as possible, needs to play it extremely safely, because his elimination would be the immediate elimination of his team in the first set, which he absolutely cannot allow. And we see him trying to play around the weakened status effect here really well, but Zynox will be able to get another shot off in the meantime, and he does not expect Zynox to just gun it over the pallet. Bolitar double backs too late, and it's going to be the down. And that's going to be an elimination at 2 generators remaining, Edgar. That is wild, especially for Severance standards. Absolutely not expecting team. I absolutely did not expect Synapse to play this dominantly on Severance's pick.
And now this calls the issue of 5 gens is now a questionable result. You know, your first elimination is 3 stages. Yeah, I mean, you just need to get one person on a hook and just camp to death. Yep, it's that simple. Zynox can play as decent. can play as sort of carefree as they want right now. Severance needs to play perfect for the rest of this matchup, and Zynox has proved to be a lethal threat thus far on the Unknown. Even trying to find some cheeky angles through the barricaded windows of the shack, you cheeky little man. Why don't you? But you're gonna eventually force the pallet break over at shack, go for a little bit of a Kobe shot onto Cartney, going to be falling wide for the time being, but Cartney doesn't have a lot to work with. Yes, you're going to get over to this pallet by the main building, but yeah, I've seen better pallets at my local construction site, you know? It's not something that you really want to be working with. If you do get over to this window, go for the M1, doesn't come through. You've managed to clear the weakened effect right now. I wonder how the gens are going from Flix and Shen, and maybe if there's some, you know, decent progress. No, there's no progress on any other generator right now. Main building at 50%. Can Cartney survive an extra 40, 50 seconds in the chase? I mean, you're at the TNL wall, you're injured, you're dodging these weakens pretty well. You might be the GOAT, but you need to be as, like, absolutely insane for this. Finally, Flix is here. Someone has helped this man, so you can try and take the hit for now, and eventually, yes, as that pallet is dropped, you're going to be coming through. And a weakened effect onto Cartney once more. This is getting riveting right now because you can see that timer coming through from Shen. Remember, even if this generator is completed, that does not guarantee victory for Severance. You did so well, Cartney. Any solo queue match, I would be going onto your Steam profile. I'd be saying you are the GOAT. Unfortunately for now, that's not necessarily the case. Now, Flix and Shen, there's a possibility for them to reset, try and go for the two-man save here. But remember, unhooking against the Unknown is really tricky.
And on top of that, RNG is absolutely not on their side. Both of those exit gates are cross-map. What they have to do now, what is very realistic, is that they both need to heal up, Shen needs to get rid of that weakened state, and then they gun it for that two-man save, because that would only be 4 stages for Zynox, and that would still squeeze out a victory for Severance. But this two-man save has to be played to absolute perfection. They have to take a lot of risk, and there cannot be any payback from Zynox here. They need to play this flawlessly, high risk, high reward, but that's all they have available, all they can realistically do at this point. We see them attempting to go for a flank here. We might see Flix trying to feint where they're coming from, and we see Shen going all the way around. Yeah, that seems to be the strategy. He's trying to get rid of his weakened state, but that would also be an indicator for Zynox that Shen is already nearby as well. But yeah, it seems like they're going for this feint into the... They did it!
I mean, Shen was weakened and Cartney. I mean, Cartney gave that over. I mean, this is going to be Shen going on the hook. That's 3. I mean, that's 3 fresh. That's 3 fresh, and the 5th stage. I mean, that is the tie now. You don't really love this for the. You don't really love this for the side of. Oh god, apologies. My brain's gone all haywire. For the side of Severance, you don't really want that draw, but again, you're both weakened. Is it even that realistic to try and get this perfect save? You know, you can either cut your losses now and tie, or you can go for it, see if you can, you know, squeak out more success, but it's a problem, and you're on the clock because the moment that this second stage gets hit from Shen, it's all over.
Yeah, that's exactly what I was warning about previously. They cannot go into this weekend. We see another divide and conquer strat, but this time the unhook is intercepted as it's happening. And we see 3 survivors injured, running to the closest exit gate. But it doesn't look like all of them will be making it out here. Zynox can very comfortably just hold them hostage in this corner and wait for endgame collapse to hit. That's exactly what he's doing right now. He's going to be able to shoot a couple of UVXs up there, but it's never realistically going to slow him down a lot. We will have to see Shen and Cartney now reset. Flix most likely has balanced landing available. Yeah, exactly. That's why he's positioned himself at the top of this hill. And then they will need to build a wall, and the wall has to be great. And you're gonna have to come into this room and say, wow, that's a great wall. I came into the room and I said, wow, what a great wall. And yeah, Flix and Cartney, we see what Shen being healed up in the meantime. They don't think that the reset on Cartney is going to be realistically finished in time. We see they're trying to go for the scap here, run through Flix balance. He uses balance landing right into one of Zynox's after images that he just strictly TPs on top of, and Flix is also the fresh, which is going to mean that we're looking at an 8-stage resort thanks to endgame collapse that tied the knot closer and closer on Severance and did not allow them to get all of these 3 remaining survivors out the gate. I feel like they could have, if on that first attempt, Shen wasn't weakened and yet got it off in time, because he got immediately injured after and 2-tapped.
I mean, yeah, ultimately Shen being weakened there was fatal to the success of that 2-man save, because it meant that you couldn't just eat a hit and then run off and, you know, have the other person get the save, and then there's 2 more hits, you know, there's the borrowed time, then there's the healthy survivor. Unfortunately, when you get injured during the unhook and then you go for the unhook as well, you just die. It's as simple as that, right? So, you know, credit where it's due there for the attempt, but ultimately it's going to be Synapse who will be taking our first set. A little bit of an upset there. I say a little bit, major upset there. We are going to be sending it over to a quick break. Once we are back, we are going to have Team Synapse opening it up on the Oni on, I believe it's Ormond 3. So we are going to be back with you in just a few minutes while we set that lobby up.
Stay tuned, everybody. After quite the upset, we return to set number 2, this time with Synapse's pick, the Oni on Ormond Resort number 3. We've got Zynox representing Team Synapse, and finding Chase very early on in sort of in a deserted area. All our survivor had there was the snowmobile, but Zynox knows fully well that it would take quite a long time to go for the hit there eventually. Even though our survivor would have been zoned there, so after that, once that pallet has been played, Zynox would have had practically free reign in that area of the map. But yeah, he decides against it and tries to find a simpler target elsewhere, as we now find... Oh, hello, Diabolita on a...
Great, you had a sprint burst.
Very fortunate there, extremely lucky to have it. But Diabolita, the sprint burst warrior, we already saw him with the same perk in the previous trial, and then decisively loses the 50-50. Allowing Zynox to get a very early hit into the trial, and on top of that has the splinter tool add-on at the top there, which is going to give him so much more progression on that meter. We're already looking at a 70%. That's what I meant to say. And yeah, all Zynox needs to do now is collect a few more orbs, and he's already gonna have that ability primed and ready for the rest of the trial. We still have Corrupt Intervention up, and a generator pops in the meantime, so that is some serious efficiency by Severance on the survivor side. Has that ability up now, and he's probably just trying to get one look on any of these survivors, and he's gonna pop it immediately after.
Yeah, I mean, this is the fact that you could hide there for so long, Carney, was almost incredible. But now you're going to have the Oni hot on your heels, has that power, has activated it. You can run around this bar as much as you would like. You don't have a good angle to like fast fall that window, so realistically, I don't think you live for any kind of distance here unless Zynox bumps into a wall, which was honestly your only saving grace there, and it seemed to work out. You can now psych him up around the corner, and you barely end up escaping that one with your life. Get yourself over to another pallet, going to be run through. This pallet is awful, but it was get the smash hit as well off the back of it. That is crazy work. Means that you can get yourself over to yet another pallet. Again, psych him out, not even going to drop it until it's absolutely necessary, and it wasn't even necessarily. Now you force this break. Granted, you're in a little bit of a curtains position right now, but you wait out the entirety of the power, and you just get left alone. That's the star treatment you got right there, Cartney.
Yeah, so the bar in main building is really difficult to play around, as the Oni and Cartney played it to absolute perfection. He was trying to play off the mind game that Zynox might be thirsty and out for a drink, but the drink meaning blood instead. He was trying to get the down onto Cartney there, but he played it twice and decided not to go for the window there, and the composure on our ace player was absolutely ludicrous there, and not just inside of main but also on the remainder of these pallets, just not losing any 50-50, any mind game, was not pressured into dropping any of these pallets, and yeah, just dropped them only when absolutely necessary. like preserving your door power and 5 minutes Freddy's, because that's also where I just got that. That's the stress in that sentence from. Yeah, now we've got Flix next in the chase, and based on how few of these pallets Cartney really had to utilize, he's going to have a lot of these tiles left, especially also the snowmobile that Zynox decided against chasing at the start of the trial. And we see him go to the shorter side here to just waste a couple extra seconds, because obviously he would not have made another loop around the entire snowmobile. And yeah, wow, these survivors are so patient. It's absolutely beautiful to see. They're completely taking advantage of Zynox's impatience or Zynox predictions on these pallets that all of these survivors are going to drop it early and win another stun here on a pallet that is super unsafe once Bloodlust hits, which Zynox had at the time, and then also just pre-drops the next one here, knowing fully well that this is really safe now to play. Doesn't vault it here, doesn't vault it, and that's going to put Zynox on the short side of the tunnel, so Flix should have immediately vaulted that, but Zynox was able to close out the distance, and they popped 3 generators in the meantime. This is beautifully played by Severance, and that's exactly the hazard I was pointing to before we even started this whole mashup altogether, because Synapse was struggling on the Oni set against Calamity already, and it seems like Severance are just pouring salt into the wound. Brutal what they're doing right now, both in chases and on the generators.
Yeah, and this is not a 3-gen, bro. I do not care like what you try and say. This is not a 3-gen that you can hold at all right now. It's just desperation for Zynox. It's about damage control. Your first hit came through very effectively, and then Cartney just absolutely shamoned in the first chase. And then Flix absolutely shamoned in the second chase. And sometimes that's all you really need to do. Even note that Bolitar was healed up pretty early after getting injured, so it wasn't even realistic for Zynox to collect blood from around the map to get the power back while in the chase with Flix. You just had to, you know, it's like you've just reset the entire matchup again, and you're looking really desperately right now. Again, now Flix is even healthy. Your Eruption has gotten you no value because you haven't downed anyone yet. Grow Embrace hasn't gotten you any value because you haven't hooked anyone yet. The Hex for the new Dracula perk on top is now gone, and Corrupt was gone like 2 minutes into the round. So you have basically no perks to work with right now either to even marginally assist you, and you get Shen over in nothingness eventually, surely. Okay.
Yeah, I was gonna say.
Okay.
And the stats on this are brutal. We're pushing 6 minutes with no down. Shen finally bites the dust. No, we already made it past 6 minutes, been correct in the background. 6 minutes and 5 seconds for the first down. Absolutely brutal. I was about to say this is looking like a 0-stage game, but thanks to that early hit onto Bolitar, Zynox had his chains of ability set up very early, and the Splinter Tool helped him not to regain his power quicker. Even though the chase onto Cartney was so brutally unsuccessful. And yeah, so many stuns as well. I think that's 3 already. We did see Smash Hit proc, but the Oni wasn't actually stunned, so that was extremely fortunate by Cartney in the chase earlier round. Yeah, but now we're starting to run out of blood a bit. He did have the injury onto Shen, so if he returns to this hook, he's most likely going to be able to regain it. But yeah, this is looking very, very grim for Zynox, and I'm not sure if he can even make it past this one stage that he's acquired so far.
Yeah, and Shen has just run himself into the very corner of the map. So you can go for that if you really want, but ultimately you know if you're Zynox that it's this different gen. Fortunately, you found the prime healing location, the local blood bank, if you will. It's at Shack. What's the problem? Shack is on literally the other side of the map to all of the generators, and let's be honest, it was never really in doubt that this final gen was going to get done. You know where it was done for Zynox, and you still have plenty of this dash left for you, so with a little bit of luck... Wait, oh my god, the ankles are broken. Now you're playing in a pretty rough situation if you're Bolitar. Best case scenario here for Zynox, we're able to just get, you know, the full count through onto Bolitar. And if you look at the exit gates, they are incredibly far away from this hook. So it's a bit of a judgment call. You can get a successful save, but then having to, you know, try and ferry...
They're not going to risk it, yeah.
I think you're also happy with the fact, like, it's 4 stages at the end of the day, right? Shen got hooked once, Bolitar's going to go down to all of them. You feel pretty confident that you can... I think... I'm going to assume it will be... actually have no idea. I was going to say I assume Bolitar playing killer, but I genuinely don't know who the Oni player is. Yeah. I mean, it's not like they have a particularly, broad roster of players to choose from, do they?
It's usually Bolitar on all the killers, and I have to agree with the survivors of Severance here also letting Bolitar die on hook, not just from a competitive perspective where, well, it's 4 stages, which is even less than what they got against Calamity last week, where they got 5 stages. But also from a Survivor Friends perspective, because let's face it, Bolitar took the first hit. He doesn't deserve to survive.
Yeah, absolutely. It's just God, it's just about those 2 chases, man. It really was a shamoning, for lack of a better term. Hence why I said it 3 times now. We're going to be sending it over to a quick break. There isn't much doubt that Severance should be able to match that killer performance when they take their turn on the Oni. But after the break, anything could happen. So we'll have a little see. Why don't we? And welcome back, everyone, after a riveting discussion that the team was having about whether Brooklyn is a real place. We are now back in Mount Ormond, which we can confirm is a very real place. Going to be an incredibly early chase started here by Bolitar. It's good that Zynox had the sprint burst get out of dodge, or else that first hit would have come through in the blink of an eye. Mostly a similar build, except Brutal Strength comes through.
What?
That was spooky, I guess.
Yeah, to say the least.
Brutal makes sense on Oni because it means that you can brute force through a lot of loops to get your first hit off a lot easier. Pre-dropping is very popular just to deny that hit, but when you get Bloodlust, it's going to come through eventually. That was, I want to say, about the 30-40 second mark, found very, very early on here. Now, you're not actually going to have the splintered hull. Instead, you're going to have the crutch and the fang. So you're putting all your eggs in the basket of making your actual power stronger instead of charging up that blood quicker. And it's a good fake on. It's a good fake by Zynox. It's going to be saving that pallet for a little bit longer, but eventually you're going to run out of resources to work with, and you're going to be going down. And I think when we compare that to the last game, this down came through about a minute in. Not bad work by Zynox. I think when Zynox was on killer, it took 6 minutes. It took 6 minutes. 6 minutes, 5 seconds to be specific for Zynox.
Yeah, the difference in the times that it took is really brutal. I mean, we had an unparalleled performance in the previous trial by our survivor sides with regards to the downtimer. That's a statistic alone. In the end, it was still 4 stages, so it absolutely was not a 0-stage performance. But yeah, looking at what Bolitar already has here, it's O2 telling that it's looking like that Synapse are also going to surrender their pick over to Severance, just in the same way that Unknown was also lost by the team that picked it. So if Severance end up being consistent here and Bolitar does not end up completely destroyed by the survivors, then we would be looking at a 1-1. Which is really thrilling because no one likes watching a 3-0 really. Or Bolitar with a beautiful fake. Pretends to go around with the ability, but then goes back into Shaq last second, making Karma hesitate there. Was ample time for Bolitar to go through the door and then land the flick around, and that's already 2 downs in, I want to say, 2 minutes, and we haven't had a single one in 6 minutes in the previous game. So yeah, a lot went wrong for Zynox, and even without the splinter tool, we must take into consideration that, as Edgar has already pointed out, that Bolitar's ability is going to be much stronger. It's going to be slightly more difficult to get that first ability, but we already passed that hurdle, past that obstacle, so now all he has is this super buffed ability with both speed and duration. And Zynox never got healed, so there's even more blood orbs here. And he's also just forced to play one 50-50 after the other, and doesn't seem like he has the reaction time and composure of Cartney in the previous game. So Zynox will go down to the ground a second time. So yeah, he's really getting just the worst of both ends here. He's not having the greatest killer performance, and that's also just mirrored by his survivor performance here.
Yeah, that's the third going to be coming through very quickly. Yep. Bolitar is just proving to be an absolute menace. I think this is something that we did call out earlier. Of course, Synapse, give credit where it's due. They surprised us on that first set with the Unknown, getting the win when we really didn't think it would be possible. Yeah. That being said, we did question their decision to bring it to the Oni set. because that was entirely on them. They were the ones who decided to opt into this matchup, and pound for pound, Bolitar is already putting in a pretty phenomenal performance thus far. It didn't seem something they were really equipped to deal with. Another gen going to be flying by in the meantime, but, you know, Bolitar's just going to be camping Zynox to death, realistically. That's the draw condition, basically met. You need one stage for your win con. It's all too simple for the lad.
We see a good amount of gen pressure now on the Survivor side too, but if once Zynox is eliminated, that would already be the tie condition, as that would be 4 stages in the bag for Bolitar with 2 fresh/individual stages on Zynox and Karma respectively, so all Bolitar needs after this is 1 down, and it's already the win for Severance after that really brutal condition that was set up in the previous game. And need to point it out again, they did play, or Synapse already did play the an Oni set against Calamity, and it didn't look much brighter than this either, where they were only able to get 5 stages and ended up forking on 2. So it doesn't look like Bolitar will be able to get the same result that Obi was able to get. But yeah, that's also really not something that you would wish for Synapse to happen. Basically getting even another stage fewer on the on the killer, and then getting forked at the same amount of generators on Survivor would be really grim. It would just really hammer in that you should never ever pick Oni again. But yeah, we do see the Pen ultimate generator popping now, which is going to be better, or which is in the end going to be at least better than the Calamity matchup they had last week. But yeah, still, Bolitar needs one more stage here. And if El Survivors play this to absolute perfection, especially hiding out the ability here, and if Bolitar ends up running out of blood on the map, then he would once again be diminished, or be diminished to the M1 killer state.
Oh
and
my
Farmer
God.
just doing phenomenally well here. Walks past the tier wall, doesn't leave any scratch marks behind, and finds a thin tree to hide behind. It's a good day to be Claudette, to be that short and thin. And it's a bad day to be going down again here behind the rock. That's the 2nd time, and the moment that hook state comes through, it will be the win for Severance, and a 1-1 overall, and a lot of blood for Bolitar here on the generator on his right as well.
Unfortunately, Ace, all that time gambling, you know, drinking, chowing down burgers,
Yeah,
it doesn't leave you as effectively able to hide behind a tree as our local Green Thumb Claudette could. So it's certainly a problem there. That's the win secured. It's now 1-1, all tied up in this series, as the rest of this is just going to be a little bit for the show. Bolitar might need to up the sensitivity on the mouse just a little bit if you're going to be playing Oni in some of these tight loops. Seems something which is almost mandatory to be doing. No, you're able to down Manu as well. There's a window of opportunity here for Fabra to get the unhook, but honestly, Bolitar just wants to finish this off right here, right now. You're probably just going to be running around the entire map, heading to the gen. Actually, not seeing if okay, there's not even a tree to hide. There's not even a tree to hide behind. I think Bolitar's just like really likes Claudette.
Yeah, are you saying he's intentionally avoiding her?
Like maybe, I guess, I don't know. It's just maybe just really. It has had a good experience with Claudettes in pubs, and is like, okay, well, sure, why not?
Yeah, he himself has only been playing Nia so far, so it certainly wouldn't be his own main. But Fabra also wearing the red recolor of the default shirt, maybe blending in with a palette a little bit because it is off that red. It's off a red color spectrum.
I think we're just cooking. I think Bolitar just doesn't have eyeballs. He just didn't have eyeballs, which is the only conclusion that we can reach. The damage bar at the bottom of the screen right now is representing the damage that Bolitar has done to the members of Synapse, and as you can see, it's full. So, and sped up, actually. It's not just full, it's sped up as well. So, yeah, be it on your own head. There's the... You'd aspire to be as confident as the members of Synapse are. Unfortunately, confidence, as my favourite Omnic would say, confidence can be a flimsy shield. And Manu going to be taken down here, put on the hook. Fabra is still like determined to get this final gen done, because at least it would be fun to do, right?
It would be fun.
I think that's the only conclusion that can be drawn at this point. I think
I agree.
while we wait for this series to end, we do continue to comment upon it as things carry on. It's going to be Lich next on the Grim Pantry. How are you feeling about that one?
Yeah, Lich once again Severance's pick, and they did beat Oracle on it previously, so they are once again definitely the favorites. Also, Fabra just constantly going edge map here, trying to avoid the, trying to get out of sight, out of Bolitov's sight, to evade these chases. He was successfully able to do so with the tree earlier, but this time, unfortunately, as he's already been injured and only had, was forced to sprint, leave the tile by sprinting to the Z-wall. Bolita had a good idea of where he was this time, and that's finally going to be also on the hook. Yeah, with Lich, Severance already did beat Oracle on it in a best of 3 last week. I'm pretty sure it was last week or two weeks ago. They did still end up losing 2-1, and also considering it is Severance's pick after all, they are once again certainly the favorites here, but they also were in the Unknown game. Anything can happen, really, as we've been taught very, very well by Synapse. But still, I feel like this should be Severance's win. It seems like they lost themselves a bit in the. They lost themselves in the Severance and the Unknown game, and they've snapped back to reality on the Synapse game.
Maybe it was
Synapse. Why do I keep saying killer? The Oni game. Lost themselves on Unknown, snapped back to reality on Oni.
Yeah, I mean, they're basically the same killer, you know. One of them is like some kind of extraterrestrial, eldritch kind of horror thing, and the other is an angry Japanese guy. So, yeah, I'm sure.
Like
why not? So
they're all like this. An angry Japanese guy running out with a club.
Yeah, it's very odd. The entity really just draw like anyone into his realm. One day it'll be like okay, thank you, like Freddy Fazbear from Five Nights at Freddy's. You can come in. A doll is going to come in. This eldritch horror, this supernatural nurse woman,
and then just turn you around the corner.
And then Oni's just really angry. That's his. He's as strong as like some of like the top tier killers by just being really angry all the time. Which is
you gotta read this lore, mate.
It's like, dude, he's so angry. Like, I aspire to be like that guy. Anyway. We're going to be taking a quick break. 1-1 currently tied up between Severance and Synapse. Definitely, Synapse came out swinging, but Severance really dominant performance on the Oni to bring it back. They were the favourites, and they should be the favourites going into the next point, but as we know in this series, upsets can happen. So we'll be back with you for the Lich in just a few minutes.
We return back to Severance's pick on the killer. We are now on the Grim Pantry with Lich, aka Vecna. And yeah, we are looking at a 1-1 score right now, so whoever wins this is once again going to be in the advantage overall. And considering that this is Severance's pick, and they already beat Oracle with this very killer, it's looking like this should be a decisive victory again for Severance, but that's also what we thought was going to happen in the Unknown game. Wow, okay. On the Unknown game in the first set. And that completely backfired as well when Severance lost very decisively their own pick that they were so well known for. And we might just see a repeat of that in this very game, as Bolitas already struggling to get that first down, perfectly timed by Manu. I think it was also in the tower. It may have been another player. Let's just go with the narrative that it was Manu, in fact, all this time. And yeah, he's Bolitas struggling. Doesn't push the pallet here either. Bolitas just going to use the hand here, but Manu just runs straight through, still gets hit on the however. Very decisive for Bolitas that he was still able to get the injury there, despite his abilities failing. And now he's got the skulls available, plus the elevation, so he might be able to land a cheeky skullet here that Manu cannot crouch, but it seems like they're stuck on the same level of elevation now, and Bolitas gonna have to play around it here. Does get the crouch in time. Manu makes it to the pallet also, so Bolitas once again has to win a 50-50 if he wants to get down, loses it, and Manu makes it in the window, double vaults it back into Bolitas' knife, and that's going to be the down. I think it's a knife. Yeah, it's a knife.
Yeah, it's some kind of flow. I'm sure all the I'm sure the D&D heads will be very able to tell me exactly what. Yeah. Oh, excuse me, that's not a knife, mate. No, but yeah.
This is
so
a knife.
It's going to be a decent down coming through. It takes a little longer than you expect, but honestly, on Vecna, what can you expect? Really a jack-of-all-trades, master-of-none-esque killer. Should be getting the skulls back. Gonna force a crouch from Karma, but again, having to stop in your tracks. Even if you're not able to get the injury with the skulls, you're able to buy time here. Fly is also going to come through to really close that distance through to Shaq. Karma going to take absolutely no risks right here. Going to drop that pallet. Hand of Vecna not going to be used to put it up. I don't believe so. Speaking of gens, a couple of them just kind of... Sorry?
It's a new strat that a lot of players have been utilizing ever since the perk was updated. You can tap a generator mid-chase that hasn't been or that you haven't done yet, and that activates Poised, which gives you aura reveal for a considerable amount of time mid-chase. And I'm pretty sure that's what he just did, but still didn't really help him on Shaq.
Oh. Yeah, I'm too old for this, man. The players are moving faster than I can. It's crazy work, but ultimately Volatile's able to get the second hook. It's a Scourge hook. 3 gens are done, but what we did see from the gen that ended up getting blasted with the Pain Resonance is that literally none of these final gens are well done, right? And also, Volatile has a pretty nasty 3-gen setup right here. There's one still over at the pantry itself. Which you're just not going to touch. You're going to let that one go. These 3, plus you have Karma hooked in the middle of all of them. This is just a nasty setup. This is a diabolical 3-gen setup.
It's absolutely disgusting, mate. Yeah, this is what we've seen so many times on Grim Pantry, where the strength of this map really shines, where at the start of the game, you can already see up to a 6-gen on this map, where you only have 1 on the main building itself, and then all the other 6 remaining generators in this, I want to say sector of the map, but it's more than just half of it, but basically on the side that is the main building. And that's exactly what Volatile's going to take advantage of now, because having a 6-gen on one map means you're going to have some really, as you said, diabolical 3-gens, and that's exactly what Volatile will now be able to play around. He's got one of those generators in the far corner of the map that are so difficult, first of all, to see even. Yeah, it takes a minute for survivors to even detect it, but yeah, thanks to Deja Vu, that every team brings, that they should be very aware of it. But Volatile now has 0 reason to leave this hook anytime soon. He's within a decent distance of all of these generators, but I don't think he should. He's going a bit too far away here as well. He's playing it risky. This generator is already really far, actually. He needs the elimination on Karma if he wants to play out this 3-gen, and I'm not sure if he's going to have enough time for it, because Fabra is definitely in position to get the rescue, but they're also already in position to get the 2-man save. He gets the unhook, and Karma does not take the injury. Volatile flies over to the gen, they're doubling, but it already pops by the time he makes it over, and that's not a lot of stages. That's only 3. Is that only 3 stages? And we're already up to all 6 generators. Yep. This is going brutally bad today for Severance on their picks.
Yeah, Volatile has the add-on which allows a little bit of haste when you're Huh? Do you know what happened?
Mexican Texan standoff.
I guess, yeah, it works there, and this is going to be this gate's going to be opened up. I believe Karma is, safe and secure within the confines of this exit gate. Oh wait, no, where is Karma actually? Oh, probably just a shack ready to get to get the hatch. Oh my goodness.
That was way too fast.
I mean, Volatile had a great setup there. I think maybe if I want to get very, very technical with it, and again, this is going to be me nitpicking, right? I feel like when you're Volatile in that situation, you have the gens to protect, and you also have Karma on the hook, right? You have your 4 tools. Now, the hand and the skeletons, you're just using those in chase, right? But you still have the fly and the orb, and I feel like which Zynox fails to get at least 4 hook stages. I know that because I know the narrative thing is say anything can happen in DBDL, and that's true, but only to a degree. There's winning a Nobel Prize, which is very difficult, and then eating the sun, which is impossible. And I think for Zynox to not get at least 4 stages, we'd be looking at eating the sun levels of insanity.
Yeah, and if now...
What?
I was gonna say, if in our
God.
world it could happen, then there's a world in which it did happen. And what the hell just happened there?
I mean, it's the
Flicks
very
got hit
slight
over the
haste.
window.
The
Yeah,
green
but
boots
that,
give you...
that should not have hit twice.
Yeah. Like, I mean, probably not. I think the first hit was the first hit was legit from what I could tell. Like there was a good distance on that. The second one, even I'll question it, to be honest. But we don't argue with the results at the end of the day. We argue with, you know, what we can see in front of our eyes, and it's a very early pull onto Flicks. Almost too early. Like, again, having someone on the hook, there's a fine line of when exactly you want to send someone for the save. And oh my god, Bolitar psyched out. And you even put the hand up, like, just in case, even though you already had the hit down dead to rights. That's already going to be the second stage coming through. I think this is the second stage before the first down even came through from the side of Severance.
I want to say they must be really tilted at this point. This is at least what it looks like based on their decision making.
Pull.
But he got it over it as well. This is really questionable so far. We see Bolitar and Flicks both going down on Shaq, neither wanting to use the pallet they had at their disposal, and both just playing for the risky window, or risky as in we had Zynox at an angle where it would be risky, and he also, very oddly, Zynox pushing into the pallet here, and Cartney obviously just gonna go for the stun and to get him, force him out of his ability. And we see Cartney also pushing back to Shaq. Are we gonna see a three-peat of what's happened twice already? He does manage to get the fast sword here, wins the prediction there that Zynox was just going to hold W around it. But yeah, the way Bolitar went down there, the double vault is one of the most predictable things in the book, really. Wow, yep, we do see a three-peat. Cartney goes down on Shaq. That's 3 downs on Shaq. And also, already the win condition beaten, because it may have been maybe the same amount of stages, and if also generators pop, it may be the same amount of generators. But exactly, we're looking at 3 fresh stages in contrast to the 2 we had in the previous game. So this does not compare at all, and Zynox already won on Severance's pick. At 5 generators, might I add. Yeah, we did just see the 3 generators pop, but all of these downs happened when not a single one had popped yet. So this is really brutal. It seems like Severance are kind of losing the grip on what's going on in this matchup, and it's now more a battle of morale, I want to say, because they lost both of their sets now. Synapse lost on their set also, but these are 2 major losses, major defeats for Zynox. A catastrophe, if we want to speak and if I want to widen it out to military terms. But yeah, there's no war of attrition going on whatsoever. It's just really clear and decisive victories on either respective side. Something that I did not, that neither of us really expected. I can't imagine anyone expected, especially also since the captain of Team Synapse isn't even able to play. Jiggy usually plays for Synapse too. In the Survivor roster, but we haven't seen him once, but still his team is doing fantastically well, even though it usually kind of depends, or his team usually depends on him kind of. So it's, yeah, this is really, really difficult to say, especially with the Spirit set upcoming, and Zynox already winning this set, so hardly anything to add.
Yeah, I haven't seen chat's gambles, but I'm sure that they would not reflect the odds we are currently looking at, which is that Team Synapse are 2-1 up in this series, and they look very, very set to make that a 3-1 over on their next pick for the Spirit on Dead Dog, I believe. Now,
yes,
things were already looking pretty dire for Severance, not the Wolf. He's on tomorrow, but they didn't do themselves any favors. You know, we saw the pulls that they got. Both of the pulls were instantly off the hook for some reason, I guess. Cartney was like, I believe it was Cartney and Flicks, I want to say, who were just both instantly there for their respective. Oh no, sorry, Cartney and Bolitar, who were just instantly there for their respective pulls. And they didn't do any favors because you didn't burn any time off the clock by having your survivor hang for a little bit. you took a very early injure, which meant that the subsequent chase didn't last particularly long. It really, I can't really describe it as anything other than possible tilt. I genuinely, I'm trying to think as to why you would pull so quickly. I don't see a logical reason.
Yeah, I mean, we sort of have evidence with the Shack chases, because going down on Shack usually comes down to dropping your composure and not being able to focus on the game, because that, in the end, always comes down to mechanical errors. You should always be able to reach the Shack pallet, and not a single one of these 3 chases on Shack even went for it. Also, this is really funny. We see Zynox not being able to make up his mind what Survivor's chase here, because there's 2 people on it. And we see, beautifully dodged by both of these survivors this time, and we see a 3rd one coming in. Bolotan flicks, everybody's here to take it for, I was corrected, Sken, not Shen. And yeah, it seems like our Claudette runs right back into the trial, hoping to get to Hatch in time. And he easily makes it if Flix and Bullet both leave, but they don't. So I'm assuming that either they're trolling their teammate, actively sabotaging, or they're probably just resetting in the gate. So we get 2 survivors. No, they didn't even. They probably attempted to, but Flix, knowing that he won't get it in time, they could both just leave and give him Hatch, but no one's doing it. They finally did it. Bolita probably shouting at his teammates now. Dodges the skull, and he shouldn't be able to make it in time. Scan escapes via Hatch. And that's going to be the 3-man escape, but unfortunately does not change the result at all, as we already had. Only 3 stages in the first game, and Zynox very, very confidently gets about twice as many.
It's good, but it's not good enough, unfortunately. Yeah. Synapse right now looking to be putting all the pieces together, being just a step ahead of Severance. We go over to Spirit on the Dead Dog Saloon, ready to see if this upset can be completed. But first, we're going to take a quick break. We'll see you after the break.
We continue with Synapse's 2nd pick of the day after we've seen them not do so well in their own Oni set earlier. They now get a chance at redemption to potentially be the first team between Severance and Synapse to win on their own pick, because we are yet to see this, as Severance drop both their Unknown and Lich sets. So now it's back to Zynox on the nurse. Not starting off too well. We see Kani get another smash it. So if I getting smash it at least once in all of his survivor performances today, at least. And also beautifully dodges out the lunge there. Fakes running to the window, and Zynox most likely got an audio cue there that he did in fact run to the window, making him think he was going to commit to it, but then dodges and weaves last second. Now getting lost a bit on the, I want to say, unsafe area of the map, or anything that's beyond the gallows, where it's extremely difficult to chase, with all these tiles being extremely short. And we see Shen getting hit on the pallet right behind main building, also one of those worst pallets on this map. Tries to make it all the way in front of main. I was going to say he's either going to try, he's probably just going to try to get to that main pallet in front, because it's a bit safer. It's not the safest, definitely, but it allows you to link back to a good amount of other tiles, and we sort of see Bolotan nearby already with that Sprint Burst 99 that he now has to use in chase rather than for the pallet save. I was about to say Zynox probably just going to face back onto the Anuk and pick immediately, and if he didn't prepare for it, Bolotan will not get this in time. It's a strategy often adopted by many of the very well experienced Spirit players, and Zynox being no exception whatsoever. He's been around in the community for, I want to say, over 5 years. I've seen him around always. He was on the OG Eternal way back in the day, when I think the only player that was even the only player that's still around from that roster was Dan, but he wasn't even one of the main first players of their team, or under the name of that team at least. But yeah, I digress. We see Zynox being able to get a push flicks off the generator in the corner of the map, applies a kick to it, and therefore also an eruption to it. So if any down occurs now, very ambitious swing there, if any down occurs now, it's going to be extra regression on that generator, which is what Zynox is most likely going to try to play around, getting as many eruption kicks as possible, so he's allowed to commit to a chase without losing too much time here. Very greedy by Cartney. They play around the window fake a second time, but Zynox knows better and gets the injury this time. Doesn't swing for it, not too cocky this time. And we see Cartney trying to, I think... Okay, so I'm pretty sure what he did there, he crouched next to the pallet, so it sounds like he'd be on the pallet, and Zynox playing the 50-50, he's eventually gonna swing through it, and thinking that he's on the pallet, but Cartney crouches next to it, and then he swings past him. But unfortunately to Cartney, Zynox swung around the corner, the side that Cartney was crouching on. So it's basically a 50-50 strat that gets you away from the pallet 50-50, because that's usually a bit rougher to play, especially based on timing as well. And there basically you just crouch and wait for something to happen. But yeah, unfortunately it's not going to be enough. Cartney goes down. That's eruption on several generators. Procced also. And yeah, the furthest gen we have is by Shen, or Sken, whatever you want to call him, with only 70% so far.
I also know that Sken has been hit with the gift of pain as well, which means that they're going to be suffering. I want to say 16% slowdown in this generator means that none have actually flown by thus far. Cartney hooked up. You can see that someone is around to, get the pull. Seems like they are going to be able to get it off successfully if they so wish, but instead Volatile is actually going to try and lead away from the hook. I mean, Cartney's got about 20, maybe 30 more seconds of hang time left in him. And if Zynox is just going to stick around here, you might as well begin to make your dent in the generators. Volatile going to come at the final second, should eventually get through the body block. So yeah, you're going to get the pull off onto Cartney. You do go down in the process. Set off some eruption, set off a little bit of slowdown. You're just going to trade the hook out here. So I think neither side is really complaining about that. Well, now it's going to get the hook. I don't think either side is really complaining about that. Volatile, obviously, you got the maximum hang time out of Cartney. You bought time for Flix and Sken to complete generators over on the other side of the map. For Zynox, it's another hook stage, just sort of gifted to you. You ain't going to complain about it too much, are you?
I really need to emphasize on the hook that Zynox just got here, because this very hook is what eliminated Eclipse from the tournament in the first round of the lower bracket. Zynox got the exact same hook, once again also has the same build, I believe, of that agitation to get this far hook behind the gallows, but Zynox leaves the generators this time way too far, and he loses his hook in the corner of the map that allowed him to get a 4K in his previous Spirit performance. He does find our rescuer, our unhooky, in the corner, who has tried to basically sneak away and also get pressure on this generator in the corner. So that they beautiful by Flix here, drops the pallet on himself and then vaults it, making Zynox second guess what direction he will be on after the vault. Was perfectly executed by Flix there. But yeah, the hook he had in the corner is so difficult for the survivors to recover from once he's basically been able to set up his 3-gen. But Zynox also does not have the generator that you would usually see at the end of the road that's facing vertically or parallel to Shack on the map overall. And instead you got the generator in the back there that Flix is looking at, the generator on top of the house, or yeah, that's what I'm gonna go with. The terrace, or the wooden elevator platform that can only be reached via the stairs that face downward away from his other remaining generators near gallows. So this is gonna be really difficult for Zynox to defend, because every time he tries to... But there's basically no way of zoning the survivors into this generator. They always have 2 drops from the... They always have the 2 holes that they can drop from that platform, and on top of that the window as well. So Zynox will never really be able to defend this very generator. Also really nicely played by Sken here. Avoids, just gets lost completely and makes it. Actually, I'm pretty sure he walked behind the little hut and then just sprinted away the moment Zynox was too far away. Unfortunately, gets hit right through the pallet though. Very unfortunate. Zynox, and down is really important here, because Zynox would immediately get that eruption on 2 of these generators here at least. Doesn't have it on the gallows just yet. Yeah, this is going to be really difficult by the survivor side to push into, but unlike in the lower bracket round 1 that Synapse played, this time they're facing off against 4 survivors and did not get the elimination on the hook in the corner. So this is going to be much more difficult, in addition to that generator that Zynox practically cannot defend.
Yeah, these survivors are doing a really good job right now. Bolitar is eventually going to eat a hit over in this corner of the map, going to try and lead as far away as possible. Of course, you would love to be complete that corner gen, absolutely destroy the ankles of the Spirit, and give him a cheeky flashlight as well. Just say, hello, I'm better than you, and you know it. You're going to force, actually no, not force break, eventually force another mind game.
Yeah.
But eventually, Spirit has ears, unfortunately. You may not have great sight, but you do have great hearing. But that being said, this middle generator is going to be completed. I think the one on the terrace is going to be done actually. And so there we have it. Every gen going to be completed. That's already a pretty spectacular play against the Spirit on Dead Dog. Now see if you can get anyone out for safekeeping as well.
Yeah, the Bolitar is hooked in this really unfortunate corner. Both exit gates practically cross-map away from it. But yeah, Spirit isn't the absolute greatest killer at defending these hooks in the end game. So if Sken recovers and we don't see another hit onto these guys, but that's probably what Zyno's gonna play for. Yeah, get the injury on Cartney. And yeah, even commit to him, because that's more stages than Bolitar would provide if he dies on hook here. And with that exit gate opening, we know at least one other server is right there, then and there, which means they're probably all there, and which means they're probably just gonna...
Oh, the dead art!
Never mind, a failed dead art! And I was gonna say, where's the other survivor? But we see Flix staying behind in the trial, getting the unhook onto Bolitar. And there should have been 2 survivors in the trial with 2 escaping, but Cartney missing the DH there, no one to take a hit. Flix was the one that ended up rotating all around and getting the rescue onto Bolitar. Now they at least have ample time to get the reset onto Bolitar, which would have been impossible if Cartney had escaped as well, because obviously Zynox would already be on his way back here. And now they have 2 survivors healthy, closer to the exit gates. The hook is closer to the exit gates. So maybe, just maybe, they can actually get everyone out here, but they will need to open the other exit gate that is right behind Zynox, because the other one is simply too far away.
It seems like you're going for the 2-man save here. It's risky, you miss. Dog, it's over. And Bolitar had a 99 sprint burst as well. You're now gonna crouch and hide to try and avoid,
yes, Hatch already.
Avoid the Spirit, and yeah, you're gonna be running over to Hatch. You're feeling completely fine right now. That's phenomenal play. That's great. That's amazing from. That's amazing from Severance, the fact they got 3 out there.
Based on a missed L1 at the end, that could have been a lot of status, a good number for Zynox going into the reverse fixture in the next trial. But missing the M1, getting auto-aimed onto a wooden box, and then allowing the Yannick to come through with no trade, that is exactly what should have never happened in that scenario. Extremely unfortunate, certainly one for the highlights. Wow. Yeah, and yeah, they've already teased it. Considering also this is Synapse's pick, they need to have something as a response here.
Hello everyone, welcome back. We apologise for having to subject you to all that talking earlier, but don't worry, we gave you a break eventually. Bolitar is going to be opening things up here for Severance. They had a phenomenal survivor performance, really came back from a bit of a crushing start to leave things in, you know, a bit of a sweet victory at the end of the day, and a very early... How do you even get that stun? I don't even know, man. Anyway, yeah, Zynos is just going to be running over to the corner. Doesn't feel like they have many more options, but ultimately that buys you a bit of extra time because you go down in a advantageous spot. But you know what would have bought you even more time? Not going down in the first place. But you didn't really have the luxury of that decision for Zynox. Remember, you need 7 stages here to guarantee your win for Severance, bringing ourselves over to that 5th set. Things already looking pretty likely for that. It looks like we're going to have... All the gens are completely split. I guess you can't really afford to double up on one gen. You have to try and spread that pressure as much as humanly possible. But when the early down comes through, that means that, you know, you don't have a completed gen in your back pocket, and that could be a bit of a problem. Voltar going to be coming back to inspect the hook very carefully, see if anyone is around, but realizes it is not to be so. Mostly the same build. Going to have Pop Goes the Weasel in instead. Make those gen kicks a little more brutal. Especially if you intend to get, you know, this many hooks and, you know, continue at the pace that you have already started at. But you're certainly not going to complain. Likely that you're just going to stick around here. You don't have a problem with Zynox going to second stage. And Karma's just going to bum rush the unhook as much as they can. They're definitely going to get it. So it's a good amount of hang time for Zynox, but going to be trading another hit right through the way to Bolitar, and also give them a charge of Pop Goes the Weasel.
Yeah, and we already see where Bolitar's trying to drag our survivors to, with the hooks pushing further and further into the gallows. I also really love how Zynox's down exemplified that down positions can sometimes really turn a game around entirely, and that it is not always about chase time, really. Because even if Zynox's chase had been another 10 seconds, he would have just gone down closer to these generators, but the way he went down, he allowed for his team to 3-split on generators. Bolitar was in the end able to deter one of them. But yeah, our survivors, despite that down being within... Wait, let me check. How many seconds was it again? Yeah, it was 39 seconds until Zynox went down, but they still had 3 generators past the 60-second mark by the time. And then all they did, or what Karma did essentially, was to just bomb rush it last second, give their survivor enough hang time, because Bolitar couldn't risk abandoning the hook for the generators because they were simply too far away based on Zynox's supreme down position. But now they are being pushed into this terrible 3-gen, or the diabolical 3-gen, that the adjective we used for the Grim Pantry game earlier. As the trade comes through, Karma is rescued, Fabra goes down instead, 3 individual fresh stages. But now Bolitar's got a hook inside of this Gallows 3-gen. We've got the gen on Gallows, the one Bolitar's currently looking at, and the one next to the house on the Bolitar's left at the moment. So yeah, now he's just got the pop eruption chain on these generators. He can feel very comfortable just standing in this area, knowing fully well he only needs 7 stages to begin with. But even without this win condition predetermining what he needs to achieve here, he could very comfortably 4K this as well, as long as he gets an elimination in this 3-gen. Even to an extent, you can even say 4-gen, because of this generator right here that is not too far from his Gallows setup. But yeah, right now, all he really needs to do is to keep trading, if he has to, on the hook, to ensure that he still gets his Pop Goes the Weasel stacks. But yeah, if push comes to shove, and no one goes in for the rescue, no one allows him to get into the pop, all he needs to do is just stay nearby, wait for Fabra to die, because the 3 survivors won't be able to pop all of these remaining generators in time.
Yeah, you're able to keep a pretty good lock on these as well. Eruption is always going to be in your back pocket, just threaten, you know, you can see there's already 2 marked up with that, probably a 3rd as well. You're able to camp out these 2 generators and the hook in a pretty advantageous position. It's likely that you just want Fabra dead at this point. That would get you over to... I believe if Fabra were to die here, you'd be on 5 stages, because you've got 1 onto Zynox, 1 onto Karma. At that point, you need 2 more to get your victory. But Fabra's actually going to be pulled here. Bolitar does not care about the Steam profile at all right now. Is just going to go straight for the tunnel out onto Fabra. He's looking to just die on the pallet, though, with no real regard here for safety, because you have the Unbreakable. Yeah, Unbreakable definitely helps there. Plus you have someone nearby for the save, and no, okay. I don't think you know, just a random. I don't even think a random like pub survivor is going to be missing that. Don't worry about it. Well, yes, you'd be surprised. Speaking of surprise, hello there.
I wouldn't be surprised, yeah.
Okay. Wow. Okay, Bolitar. I wasn't familiar with your game.
Phases all the way around the shack, or the short side at least. Thanks to the wall he's already broken previously, he was able to cut the chase close and get Fabra on to the basement hook here, also not sacrificing any of his, I want to say upstairs hooks, since the basement hooks can't break. But yeah, and now he's got the setup that I was dreading on behalf of our survivor team, because they're now deadlocked in this 3-gen with a pop eruption chain and a 3v1.
Manu was hidden so well there. What's even the play here? I mean, you want to double up this gen, but you know, Boltar's just showed up right on your heels. Now Zynox does have the med kit. I don't know if that still has charges on it. You would like to think so, considering that it has, you know, double add-ons as well. Manu
that is allowed.
In the corner. Manu in the corner of the map, going to just be holding on to this sprint burst as long as humanly possible. Where's a walker? What is?
One question.
What's my survivor doing?
Uses the fixator to just walk away from the tile and then drops the pallet on the wrong side. Well, I guess he thought Bolitar was mid-phase, but he just didn't look behind himself, and then just kind of drops it on himself, all dorky. And then we get the down on Manu, and that's the 6th stage of the game, and I'm pretty sure based on individual stages, that's already the win.
Fresh. Yeah. You've won out there. I don't think it was ever in doubt. Honestly, Fabra going down at this shack pallet was kind of Zynox is jump scaring Bolitar. Like, we don't know what's happening anymore, ladies and gentlemen. But yeah, this is curtains. This is curtains. We're going to a 5th set. It's going to be Wesker. It's going to be on Father Campbell's Chapel, and it was Fabra going down at that pallet at shack, which was crucial there, because you still had all the members of all the other members alive. Fabra is of course on final hook, so you know that chase lasts another maybe 30-40 seconds while 2 survivors can double up one of the final remaining generators. Then you're pretty happy with that, and then maybe you can, you know, squeak out with I mean, if Fabra went down, it would have eventually been it would have only been 5 stages. If you can get everyone out, then you're still fine there. But again, not a universe that we're living in. We say anything can happen, but by that we mean most things can happen, except for probably the most ridiculous things, which still sometimes happen anyway, because... You know,
it's DBD. Anything can happen.
I see.
And we also need to correct ourselves here, because this is now the win condition, because in the previous trial, Zynox was also able to get 4 fresh stages.
Okay.
So now it's 7, and based on the fact that 7 is a slightly larger number than 6, we are now looking at a win.
You don't say, do you, King?
Yeah, it took me a minute to think about that one. I'm not too good with these difficult equations on the spot. But yeah, now we're looking at the definite win for Severance in this 4th game, and we are continuing the trend, as we see a beautiful Mori in the background. We're here to continue the trend of teams winning each other's picks. So this is now Severance winning both of Synapse's picks, and Synapse having won both of Severance's picks. And we're now going into a tiebreak that sort of both teams were able to manipulate. Obviously, Severance being the team that was that banned last, based on the fact they won the coin flip. But in the end, both of these teams banned several killers that eventually closed down on the pool, which only left Mastermind behind for both of these teams to play. And yeah, Bolitar still holding on strong to his 3-gen, didn't even play as conservatively as he could have. So he could have stayed much closer to this generator, not even going for the down onto Karma and just making absolutely sure all of these generators remain on 0. But thankfully, he decided to end it quickly. We saw Zynox working on one of these generators early. That's probably the survivor he finds here now. Yes, well, Manu was trying to get out of the danger zone, essentially. And Bolitar will be able to find our Ada working on the generator. Has one of these rather risky tiles, but if you're super patient, they are relatively safe on this window. It's difficult to play around. But yeah, we see Zynox not dropping his composure whatsoever, just runs right into Bolitar, who at the same moment phases the wrong direction. Zynox tries to crouch on the stairs here to avoid the M1, but Bolitar waited out. I think got confused there for a second, thought he ran into collision, but instead it was Zynox at his feet, whom he will promptly put on the hook, and Manu is our last man standing, who in the meantime makes it all the way around main building already. Possibly trying to play for a gate here, because Bolitar's obviously already on hatch, so Manu will never be able to get anywhere close, and he might just play it risky by getting one of the gates to at least get one of the survivors out. So it would be sort of a mental victory in that regard, Bolitar not being able to get the 4K in the end.
Yeah, it's a sticky situation for these. It's this sticky situation for Synapse to find themselves in. Fabra having a very rough time over at Shaq, and the rest of the team having a very rough time. In general, you know, contrary to what you say, I'm actually not a big fan of the Spirit's Mori. I think it is exceptionally mid in comparison to most of the others.
All of them are.
Well, like, okay, you say that, but like, Pinhead drags you to hell, which is pretty cool, right? I know they read a death thing as one, so he, like, shoots you like through the back of the mouth. That's pretty metal.
Oh yeah, true.
Yeah, I mean, as time goes on, they get better and better. Except Knight. Knight was a bit of a resident sleeper of a Mori as well. But it's generally there are a lot that are better than the Spirit, right?
I think they all suck. Just hook, and we might.
Why? Because they're not
Manu escaping.
I mean, like, it's not like Mortal Kombat, you know. Like, you can't have like that ludicrous level of fatalities. You just have to work with. It would be cool, but you just kind of have to work with what you've got. And I think in DBD, I mean, I maintain that, you know, Pinhead dragging you to hell is probably the best one that we have in the game. Would you agree, or do you think there's another cooler one?
Bubba is cooler.
Nemesis?
Off the top of my head, I don't know all the Moris. And also, I'm pretty sure Manu just S-stressed on the exit gate, so opening it to the point where the light won't go on, but still getting, or basically having 20%, what's it called, in a bottle? No, in a bottle. I want to say cloud in a bottle, but that's too niche of a comparison. Yeah, he gets the gate open in time, thanks to that. Bolitar not finding him in the corner after even though he checked it relatively thoroughly, but I feel like Manu was probably hiding on one of those rocks on the left that Bolitar didn't end up checking, and Manu will be able to get out of the gate thanks to that.
Yeah, and it seems like with all of that bluster and all that talk, we're going to be bringing it to a fifth and final set in this series today. Remember, loser of this set is going to be out of the tournament for good. Whoever remains, they get a new lease on life against Oracle. Not against Oracle, against Calamity tomorrow.
Calamity.
Not going to be the easiest matchup, to be honest. But we are going to be sending over to a quick break, and we should be back in our fifth and final set in just a few minutes.
Welcome back, everyone. I was hoping that we were not needing a housekeeping today. Unfortunately, we do. Let me get my notes up. So we had a longer investigation because there was a report from Synapse that they have a pretty bad ping against the Spirit. You could see it in multiple hits and through pallets. And they informed us in time. We said, let's play it out. We will judge later, because a ping investigation is pretty difficult during a trial. So we always tell the teams, play it out. Maybe you even win. Maybe it's stabilizing. Let's see. But Synapse reported it in time. They basically had between 110 and sometimes 150 MS, which is something very unexpected when you are going against EU. And we have seen some disgusting hits, especially the first hit that gets everything rolling. And during the investigation, we found out that it was a net issue from the killer. And therefore, we have one rule that says that the connection of the killer must be better than 100 millisecond. And now, those that were listening in mathematics in school and didn't go somewhere to secretly smoke realize that 100 that we had 100 MS in the rule and 110 to 160, 150 during the match, which is higher. So it is going to be a restart. There's no room for discussion as it was fault of the killer connection. The one thing we give to Severance is that it was a very honest problem here and that the internet had an issue, and therefore we are going to have them change their build as well. There we are basically with flexibility on the DBDL team. If we are saying, you tried to do something cheeky, or okay, it was an honest issue, let's replay it to make fair conditions. So we are taking the second option, we are replaying it. I think that is fair to Synapse to play on a normal ping. I also think it's fair to Severance to take a normal second chance on the killer match and not being treated like filthy cheaters that are trying to do something here. So everyone can change builds, but we will be replaying the trial that was on too much ping. Sorry for the break. Sorry for the interruption. We are going to be back in just a moment with our wonderful casters. Stay tuned.
Flix, I know, is someone who really wants to play killer, but was never let to, was never really allowed by the killer main on his team. Yeah, Ryan still wanting to play everything. It's kind of like how Pedro wants to play killer for Elysium, but Xeno won't let anyone else play. That's also what the dilemma that Flix found himself in. And he did already play Nurse at the time and won several sets for his team too, because that's also a killer that Ryan does not want to play. And yeah, also, as we can all see, it will be Flix now replacing Bolitar on the killer roster, as Bolitar was not able to fix his connection issues in time, and the show must go on. Flix, certainly very well experienced on the killer. He used to be a survivor main for the longest time, but I think about a year ago he made the transition of wanting to become a versatile player, who not only plays Survivor, but also can represent Survivor teams on the killer. And we already get a very early injury onto Fabra, who's trying to evade the killer in the open field. He did go for the crouch there, trying to throw Flix off guard, but our killer player was able to hear him breathing. Also, goes for the vault here. We're going to see a dragon script this time. Curious to see how that's going to play out in the end. Fabra also sort of zoned in this area of the map, and he will also just go down in the corner of the map. The exact same strategy we saw implemented by Zynox in the previous game, but this time, very decisively, the chase took, I want to say, about twice as long. If I recall correctly, Zynox went down 39 seconds in, and this time we see Fabra going down 57 seconds into the trial. So a difference of 18 seconds there. Is it going to be enough for Synapse will be the question, if these 18 seconds are going to decide whether or not they will end up winning on their own set.
It's certainly not insignificant, right? And Zynox, you say caught out there, but does end up leaving. And because Fabra has will make it, you're actually going to have enough time to heal Karma before Flix even gets back. Flix isn't even going to consider that right now. Instead, I mean, Manu was really not sticking close to that whatsoever, and now Dragon's Grip going to be active for a spell. Remember, Flix was allowed to change up the build again.
Yeah.
This was, as we said, this was an honest mistake, which wasn't really in anyone's control, but rules are rules. So even though the series has to be restarted, Flix can change up the build as much as they want. Beautiful hit round the corner there onto Karma. Definitely going to be feeling that one into the middle of next week. Injured up, but ultimately Zynox, no, sorry, not Zynox, but Fabra has already been hooked. So that is the one. Yeah, Fabra's the one that you want, really. They've already been hooked. You can get them out the game. That's going to be spectacular. But you don't mind briefly spending some time splitting pressure between Karma and Manu. Hit onto Zynox, certainly not going to be bad, but if you don't commit to this, Zynox can just kind of self-heal, which means that they can't work on a gen in that time, but it's also not going to, draw anyone else over. Meanwhile, Karma and Manu look to be resetting, so I think Zynox is just going to buy as much time as possible for this reset. Or just hello, all right, we got another fella over here instead. So Karma and Manu have reset, which is good for Manu because they've already eaten a hook. Everyone else is still fine. This looks like it's going to be a bit of a slower affair than the last match we saw. Oh wait, Fabra vaulted from the other side initially and then went back over. Oh my god. That's crazy play coming through. This isn't a spectacular palette to work around, as can be seen here, but it is a palette nonetheless. Means that Flix has to be a bit worried. Karma, your 99 sprint burst, unfortunately, brother, is not going to cut it. Going to come back through. Should be fine to get this. Yeah, no one's going to be there for a save. It was all on Karma's shoulders at the end of the day. But this is Fabra going to be hooked up again. So that's definitely a good look for the... It's definitely a good look for our killer, who's going to be proving themselves here. You may not be Bolitar, but I'm sure you can still do it, Flix.
Yeah, that's one thing I really want to point out. This is the danger. I want to say that when you replay a set that you originally lost and then you still lose it, isn't the greatest look for you, but it also
Dragon's Grip.
It keeps things superficially fair and square. But I want to point out right now, Flix is in a better position than what Bolitar was in, because last time they popped 3 generators for 1 survivor dying, and Fabra is about to perish, and they've only popped 1. And we also have one of the, I think it was Manu, who was caught on the Dragon Script, so he's currently exposed, and he can't really play that risk on the generator, but it seems like Flix is absolutely just going to stay nearby. This also eliminates Manu from the equation of a potential double save, because we have one of the survivors, obviously.
Karma can't get it. Karma's getting body blocked.
He actually pulls it off. I was about to point it out, and Flix been really successful this game. He's already got an elimination. We're going to see at least 1 generator pop now, and he also phases right back to that survivor that was previously exposed, but it's not going to be, he's not going to find him in time. Flix is just going to kick it once more as Zynox pops the Gallows generator, so he won't have this 3-gen available. He sees the crow, so now he knows exactly where Manu has been pathing to. But yeah, an elimination, 3 generators remaining. We're most likely going to see one of these survivors rotate back to that generator that was so far. Where we see a nice stun here also by Manu in the unsafe corner of this map. Yeah, and it doesn't seem like Flix is really interested in pursuing this chase. He's still trying to get a 1-shot down off the Dragon Script. But yeah, you asked me about Flix at the start of the trial, but yeah, be it Bolitar, be it Flix, we are going to see a win in the set here based on the phenomenal survivor performance by Severance already portrayed in the initial fixture.
Zynox heals up. Sorry, was it Zynox? Apologies, yes. It's been a long day. Yes, Zynox has healed up. Is going to live for a little bit longer for the time being. No one has been hit by this Dragon's Grip in quite a while. So even though you're definitely in a strong position here for Flix, you aren't feeling too bad about this, especially because, again, right now the only chase that you can see immediately is Karma, and Karma is set up around main building with, you know, all of the space to work with. Instead of looking for a juicier target, that is Zynox, and this pallet actually has been dropped before. Great! I'm surprised that Zynox did not fall for that. I think that would have caught out like 99% of players, myself included, to go for the vault there. Now things are a bit rough, and eventually the hit is able to come through. I think it was only really a matter of time in that corner. Remember that every single second counts here, and Zynox is really making those seconds as long as humanly possible. What does that even mean? A second is still a second anyway, but regardless,
he's
you get
stretching it out in his mind at least. Time is relative, and yeah, it seems like our survivors are trying to stretch it as far as possible. We do see the next generator finally flying, and Flix in the meantime only claims his 4th stage. It's been quite a while since he's gotten another down and another hook respectively. And it's all about maintaining the pace now in this game, keep the ball rolling, essentially. A snowball system of the pressure that you've now been able to exert. It's going to be able to profit a lot from this eruption, because obviously what eruption does is it allows you to still commit to chases even when you have a closely knitted web of generators that you really want to keep your hold on, that you don't want any intervention on. And yeah, we see already how Flix is taking advantage of these eruption kicks by distancing himself slightly from these generators, hoping to catch a save off guard. But Karma instead goes all the way around. Made will be seen, however, try to be aggressive on the Anuk there. And the moment Flix was basically checking or scanning the collection of houses there, he was trying to find his window of opportunity to rush into the Anuk. Similar to what we see now, he does end up getting the Anuk before second stage, but he will have to trade for it. That's going to be 2 eruptions, and Karma picked up right after, straight back on the hook. We're probably going to see that penultimate generator popping very soon, as he's been held really busy on this side of the map here. We see the scratch marks getting closer. However, I feel like Zynox is probably running to this generator to get the reset, but he's also putting his teammate on display. No, he's actually been near the houses this entire time. It's still regressing, thanks to the eruption. But yeah, Flix, I'm pretty sure he's seen the crow here. Yes, he has, in fact. And he will be able to catch the last healthy survivor standing off guard. And this looks like it could be a 4K on 1 or 2 generators remaining, which is much better than the result that Bolitar was able to get. Well, it was a 4K at 1, counts as a 4K on 1. We did at least have 1 survivor escaping. Obviously, the stages nullified, not the stages, that achievement nullified, because you need to pop all 5 generators if you want your stages out the gate to count, or the hash, respectively. But yeah, Flix is so far on par with the performance we saw by Bolitar in the previous trial.
Oh! How about that?
DH?
Dead unused. Manu ends up getting Karma off the hook here. There's still 5 stages. This is tenuous. I'm not going to pretend that you aren't in a awful, terrible, no good position.
And I'm not delusional.
Yeah, but you get the stun. You're able to buy yourself a little more distance here. I mean, it's going to be some kind of miracle play that has to come out, but you end up letting Manu return to the main building just because you really want to check on this gen. You give an opportunity for these members to reset, and yes, it's a 3-gen. Yes, they're in good positions, but one of the gens is on top of the saloon. That being said, you found the little healing party, and you have broken it up. I don't think Manu has any more tools to work with, and a down here, it seems like it's going to be almost inevitable. Nice footwork, but that footwork can only get you so far.
Yeah, I was going to say he's probably going to play the pallet behind main, but instead opts to double back while injured mid-phase. So certainly riskier, but he probably didn't expect he would make it to the pallet in time. It's going to be the next fresh on the hook, and we are finally at the 6 stages. So based on the fact that Zynox was able to get 4 freshes in this game, we are still looking at a tie. But yeah, we still got a whole generator remaining, and we still got a whole 3 injured survivors left on the trial. And as any man who's played Spirit before, you know fully well that once the survivor's injured, it's very difficult to win or stand for much longer in a chase.
Yeah, the pallet here has been dropped. It's going to be broken. Zynox can't go anywhere.
And wait,
you're going to return right back to the same corner that you initially downed in. I mean, this time you have a Z-wall here. The strongest tile in the game.
That's beautiful. That's so poetic. He goes down into the decisive stage, and that's also what was the decisive down in the first trial around. This could not be better.
There's only 3 things that are true in life: death, taxes, and Zynox going down in that corner of the Dead Dog Saloon. In the Dead Dog Saloon. But yes, we are going to the 5th set for real this time. We promise, guys. We aren't trolling, unless it turns out that Flix was on. Maybe. Nope, another one.
10 VPNs.
Okay.
He gets the frame perfect grab there.
Unless it turns out that Flix actually on 500 ping this entire time. I think we'll be going over to our Wesker set. It's not possible for these teams to just win on their picks, is it?
Yo, this is a better result than what we had with Bolitar too. You know, we were talking about how with only 4 players, you're going to risk a lot of flexibility, but obviously not a lot of quality here, because Flix was able to do exactly what Bolitar did too, so I can imagine that Bolitar might consider Flix to play killer more often in the future, because he did just beat Bolitar's results. It's point-wise, yeah, it's the exact same. It's a 4K1, but in Bolitar's game, someone escaped. So this is even the mental win.
Absolutely, and there it is. We promise we aren't trolling this time. We are going to be going over to that 5th and final step. the Wesker tiebreaker. It's only been 3 hours. Oh my god. Anyway, it's only been 3 hours. This is the length of a grand finals, and it's the lower bracket round 3. We'll be back with our Wesker set in just a few minutes. Don't you go anywhere.
On Father Campbell's Chapel. Will the tiebreaker finally provide us with a victor? Hello everybody, welcome back for the ultimate set between Severance and Synapse. Once again, we have Flix on the killer, replacing Bolitar, who has not been able to fix his connection issues. But as we saw very well in the previous game of Spirit, Flix is absolutely up to the task, and we already see him get a very early fantastic hit onto Karma, throws him right against the Z-All to get that first injury in the trial. And yeah, Father Campus Chapel Mastermind, not sure if we've seen him too much on this map. We have seen Plague mostly so far on this map, and we've seen results all over really, anything from 4 stages to a 4K at 2 generators remaining. And yeah, Flix already zoning Karma into this circuit here. Karma taking the chase into the corrupted generators of the map. It's going to be good for short term, obviously, as all of his teammates will be able to work on the generators cross map. However, if he's got a 3-gen here for late game, then it could be quite detrimental if Flix never allows Karma to leave this general area. Rune already cleansed, meaning Flix only has that... what's it called? Pain Resonance, yeah, and the Wretched Fate left in the trial. Manu not the first in Chase, our obsession, so that Wretched Fate might have a good deal, might play a good deal in this game.
Yeah, and Karma, it seemed, was making the best out of bad situation there. Ultimately, a down is a down and a hook is a hook, especially a Pain Resonance one, but you were forced into the corner of the map, the chase was in the corrupted gens, and you kind of got zoned out considering the position you were in. It wasn't bad. First down at 1 minute 4 seconds, so not the quickest one we've seen in this series, but definitely far from the slowest. But that's another issue entirely. Twitch right now is going to just sit high on this perch, and yeah, didn't see anyone coming in for the save. Is going to be returning right back to the hook instead. Because yeah, you can Wesker can smell a rat from a mile away, right? And it's going to be this Claudette. And I mean, if you can get the hit off, then that's a pretty good deal. But actually, it's going to be a pretty perfect save that comes through. So yeah, fair enough.
Why did he not commit to his ability there? That was really odd, because he could have very easily.
He has the egg as well, so he has the time.
He could have got the double hit. Yeah, that as well. So I'm not sure why he just lets them unhook and then goes to the M1. Could have at least been a trade there. We did see a third survivor come in, but that was really impatient by Flix, and that might have just ruined his entire pace in this game.
Because the main advantage, you get such an early hook in such a precarious position. At the very least, you're able to down the survivor going for the unhook. Best case scenario, you obviously get the survivor that you've just got, and then you're a step closer to tunneling out the game. Here, you got neither situation, and maybe you take Zynox down here, but this is a pretty awful loop to play around as Wesker. Maybe not the worst, it's relatively angular at the least, but again, Wesker, quite paradoxically, is weakest at some of the weaker loops in the game, and so Zynox knows this and is just going to, milk that for everything that it's worth. Anything with corners, angles you can play around. Karma, of all people, the person who's already been hooked, feels confident enough to come through for the body block. See if this is going to be a winning strategy. You come to a TNL wall. Wesker's pretty effective at just splitting this into 2. And Karma's even more effective at breaking the ankles of Flix, because you're able to chain that into this drop pallet, get yourself over to this gym over here, and again, just force this chase even longer and longer. This is a spectacular performance coming through from the Severance survivors right now. Not just Karma doing well in this chase, but Synapse survivors playing phenomenally, even dodging this last hit coming through. Severance are really just putting the work in right now, and it's paying off for them. We can see, another generator, 4th gen about to be popped, Zynox and Manu are now completely healthy, not slow, not infected, not dealing with any kind of problems whatsoever. It's almost certain that a final gen is going to be completed. All we can do, look around. Flix, do you have a disgusting 3 gen? Let's see. There's 1, there's 2. No, you don't. It's not the... They're all on one side of the map, I suppose, if you know, turn the map around 180 degrees, but ultimately, no, it's not a great split for you.
Also, I'm still really confused why Karma was the one that ended up taking the body block there, because it could have very easily been Manu, who's currently still affected by that wretched fate, and those survivors who want to be more aggressive. But yeah, Karma, I was gonna say, must have some sort of second chance perk, that he's the one in chased, but first of all, not allowed on Mastermind, and second of all he's got is life and resilience. But maybe that's also just the strongest chase build that they've opted to go with. Oh, Flix misses another grab there onto Fabra, who's going for the reset. That was really risky, I was gonna say. Fabra must have communicated very early, and then the survivors did not break a single sweat, immediately transitioning into the reset. But I feel like he should have gone for the kill here, so he at least could get 6 stages in the end. But yeah, Flix is trying to spread the pressure globally on these survivors, who have now all successfully resetted and cured themselves of their Ouroboros infection. So not exactly sure what strategy Flix is trying to implement here, but yeah, Ollie, it really depends now on getting fast individual downs if he wants to get a lot of stages here. The elimination on Karma, to my mind, would have still been the most important objective to achieve in this game. Oh, hello.
Yep, and Karma's now 1 step closer to going down, but I'm fairly certain that, I mean, Zynox and Fabra are safe in... I don't feel good about that one. That's, oh my goodness. Okay, Flix, you are a disgusting man for all intents and purposes, but you end up getting that down, you end up getting that kill through. I wonder how Zynox and Fabra have been doing this time. Well, Zynox is right here, apparently. Just wanted to kind of see Karma die. I guess maybe they're not quite so friendly with each other. Manu over by the circus, just trying to hide here, as is Fabra. Now pressure is being split between the circus gen and then the gen more in the corner close to the chapel. Flix is maybe expecting that there's a bit of locker gameplay going on. I'm surprised. I get that you wouldn't find Fabra, but I'm surprised at not finding the injured Manu over there.
Yeah, and now he sort of has to keep bouncing back and forth between these 2 generators that he knows fully well these survivors are working on. There's no point of 3 splitting at this point in time. You're most likely going to have 2 survivors on 1 generator, and the other survivor who's in a bit of a safer position on the single generator. Flix ends up finding Manu here near Shack, so considering this is the injured survivor, he should be having an easier time getting this down. However, this is also the survivor with that wretched fate, so committing for this chase is not going to give him any benefit from the tremendous slowdown that perk can provide on a single survivor. And we already see Zynox coming in for hit tank, which is usually an indicator that
and the adrenaline
is about to pop with the adrenaline. Exactly as I was about to say it occurs. And Manu is scot-free as Zynox is able to take that hit, or the grab even, immediately cures 2. He will be found on this tile, and yeah, as you pointed out already, the worst tiles are usually more difficult for Wesker to play around. Flix will, however, be able to get the down onto Manu here. And they missed the second pallet save of the day. That is Sinus missing a second pallet save against Severance today.
Entirely... I'm coping, yeah, he missed the pallet save, what can we say? Anyway, and
he gets the upstairs with pallet instead.
Yeah, Zynox and Fabra just leave here. You can't safely unhook from this top gen. But the fact they haven't left yet means that they're thinking about it. So, interested to see how that... No, they were just taking their time, I guess. Fair enough. I think ultimately, with Manu going down, I believe that is exactly 6 stages. Karma got 3 staged, and Manu got 3 staged as well.
Yes.
When we compare that to our standard, Wesker stats, we are looking at Generally, 9 hook stages is pretty is the norm for Wesker. 41% 4K rate and about 4 gens completed per match. So definitely ahead of the curve were the Synapse survivors here. They really did a phenomenal job.
Yeah, absolutely. 6 stages is not exactly the win condition that ensures you will win this set. So there's still anything can really happen on this set. Could still be a resounding victory for Severance. Could be a resounding win for Synapse. And we really can't tell. It's getting really close. Not only have we gone all the way to the tiebreaker, but the tiebreaker itself is also getting this close. Once again, possibly because Bolitar can't play, as he's been disadvantaged by his own connection. We will be right back with the final game of today after a short break. Stay tuned, everybody.
Welcome back. Don't worry, we've been here for almost 3 hours, probably more at this point, but this is the final match unless Zynox gets exactly 6 stages and 2 freshes, and if that happens then maybe I just quit my job on the spot. But it's more action and it's Wesker as well, and let's be honest, I don't think anyone's ever going to get tired of this killer. Definitely a popular choice, maybe popular to the point where you think, oh, you know, we see way too much Wesker, but it's just well designed. Let's be honest. It was definitely a win from behavior, the design of this killer. So I ain't gonna complain too much about seeing it. Seeing some of these techs come out, seeing these vaults come through, seeing these chases as well. Bolitar back in the game on the survivor side here, playing this Paladin pretty well, is going to force a break from Zynox, means you can get yourself over to the shack, but you don't have quite the distance to make it all the way over there. Relatively similar builds from last time, as that's just disrespect right there. Blind to force the pallet break. Deadlock has been bought through by Zynox. Seems like a pretty strong perk on Wesker, but who could be even stronger than Bolitar, who instead is just going to outmaneuver the lad and end up forcing him to drop chase entirely. It's now been definitely over a minute. I think the first down in the last round specific came through about 1 minute and 9 seconds in. Cartney set up in the corner. We're definitely past that time frame now, but if you can get a quick down onto Cartney, you should be feeling pretty good. Cartney knows this, however. You can buy all the time in the world. You can drop Shack Pallet, force a break there from Zynox, make your way over to the main building as well. Bolitar can come in for the body block too. This is some strong team play from Severance.
Yeah, the win condition that we're looking at that Zynox has to fulfill is certainly not unrealistic whatsoever. 6 stages is very decent to achieve as a mastermind.
7 to win.
Yeah, 7 to win, exactly. So, with Flix also being forced to play in the previous game. Oh, wow, the power of the egg there. And Bolitar's most likely going to be hauled here in the base. Never mind, he's just going to hook him on the side here, wants to get the pain res. Yeah, exactly. Wants to profit from that pain resonance. And I can also imagine with that deadlock, now that is the first time we've seen that between Synapse and Severance, that it caught our survivors off guard, meaning they most likely didn't set that up right from the get-go. It's a huge advantage, or it's a huge nerf to the perk if you know that it's being brought into the game. I think deadlock probably is at a disadvantage the most there, if the survivors know that the perk is being brought in, since he can play around it right from the get-go. And yeah, Zynox will be able to kick the generator in main building without the eruption, so he's fully invested his perk slots into that pain resonance and deadlock. With the Wreckage Fate on the side too, that is now applied to Cartney, but unfortunately to him, Cartney was the first survivor in chase, so it wasn't all that disadvantageous to our survivor roster. Of course, right now as Bolitar is on the hook, Cartney will be forced to work on a generator with that individual Pentimenta applied. And now both of our survivors, or the Anuka and the Anuki, are stuck in this relative corner of the map. It will be Bolitar who is found once again with that Sprint Burst, the favorite perk of our avid Nia main so far today. And very unfortunate, Zynox gets stuck on the rock with his second rush that would have very likely connected with Bolitar, and most likely been the GG in this game, because that would have already been 2 stages, or almost a death hook on, I want to say 2 generators remaining, since they've got 2.5 generators ready to play around that deadlock. Oh, beautiful window fake by Sken.
Yeah, unfortunately you can't quite do the same around that window. You didn't have the angle for it.
Yeah.
It would have been incredible to pull off, but unfortunately we don't necessarily have that luck all the time. You go over to this high ground position, but you don't have the bounce landing to work with to get yourself the distance, so you are eventually going to be caught out. However, we can see the progress coming through. Here's the thing. Pain Res popped on that top gen. If you look at the gen that Flix is completing, that's like 80%. That means that you have the gen by the unhook, which is almost complete. Flix is going to have theirs done any second now, and that basically leaves you with only 1 generator left. You look around for Zynox, there's no 3 gen to work with, so you're in a pretty sticky situation right now. Obviously, you have 2 fresh hooks that have come through. You're looking for, at the very least, a 3rd fresh hook at best, 7 hook stages, just to, fully guarantee your win right now. And it's a bit of an odd decision to be holding on to Sken here.
Yeah, especially as our survivors in the meantime will be able to get decent pressure on these generators, and a death on him would only be 4 stages overall. But maybe the strategy that Zynox is trying to execute here is that once Sken dies on the hook here, it would be 4 stages, meaning any down gets an endgame. He can feel very free to camp out, and then it would be 7 stages overall, therefore choking out the the amount of stages that Flix was able to get in his game. We see Sken hitting the 2nd stage now, and Zynox is avoiding it entirely. Will find Boliter again, the only survivor besides Sken himself that has been hooked so far. So we're currently looking at 3 stages. But yeah, Boliter is just going to be able to avoid that chase immediately, as Wesker's Shadow is holding up his arm for some reason. And yeah, Zynox is most likely just going to try to go for more individual stages here, because in the end he's going to get enough that will outperform the previous performance. But no, instead he's trying to get the kill onto Sken, who does not find himself with a tile. The only thing he has left is the Z-wall, but unfortunately he approaches it from an angle where he can't make much out of it. Will be picked up, and Zynox claims his 1st kill of the trial. Does not get another pain res off him, as it's already been applied onto him. 1 generator remaining, deadlock activates, and that generator is most likely already near completion. It is Boliter's generator in the corner that we saw him working on earlier, as he avoided Zynox. At the moment he tried to push in. No, actually, they have 2 generators 99 here. That means they must have waited a good amount of time. And we see Flix now trying to avoid Zynox on the Z-wall, and if he goes down, yeah, it would be 7 stages overall.
Yeah, and everyone knows it. Boliter's here. The whole squad is here. That's just it's an adrenaline hit, and Zynox is going to be pursuing Flix to the ends of the earth right here, and needs to drag him away from an exit gate as well. Remember, just hooking Flix isn't going to be enough to save you. You need to kill them outright. Now, you've tracked them down to a rough spot of the map. Great Volt comes through. With a little bit of luck, you should be able to get them down, and yes, you are able to get it, and so you're going to be able to plant them firmly on a hook. Do you have a hook available on this high ground? No, you don't here. And that's going to be the gate open already. Now, this is where things get sticky, because we have 3 fresh hooks. So, if Flix even hits 2nd stage, then that's... If my math is correct, which it always is, if Flix even hits 2nd stage, then that's Synapse winning. Zynox did well enough. So, in order to drag this back, Cartney and Boliter have to get a perfect save here, and they have to not give away any more hook stages in the process. Or at least definitely not one onto Cartney. If they give one onto Boliter, maybe they can draw it out, but it's all a matter of execution now.
Yeah, and we've got first front row seats. Bolitar ends up taking that first hit, but has Sprint Burst available, so he will immediately be able to make it away. Cutney only has a smash hit at his disposal. Will he be able to make value out of it? He has to avoid the dodges.
Oh!
And he won't.
It's it. That's it.
And
There's
that's
nothing that's gonna stop Zynox and put him on the hook. And even for good measure, you're just dragging them as far away as humanly possible. If I can count correctly, which again is a struggle for me, 3 stages for Sken, 1 for Flix, 1 for Bolitar, and then Carney's gonna take them all, and that's it. Wow, at the final hour with a final 2-man save. It was a good save. That's the craziest part. It wasn't even badly done, but there was no, there was nothing to work with really. Oh my god.
And Flix's death position unfortunately put everybody out of position. He was nowhere near an exit gate, so there was no possible chance for them to come back from this. It's really unfortunate. Also, they made us eat our words so bad because we predicted a 3-0 for Severance. And what are we looking at now?
We are 5 of 5, by the way. Of none of these teams won their pick.
Yeah.
Not one.
Right. Wow, that's the leitmotif of tonight, because we still got another matchup up ahead.
Indeed we do, ladies and gentlemen. And thank you very much. Yes, thank you very much, Mathis, for joining me today. How did you feel about that matchup?
Amazing. I did not expect it to go this far, and I'm amazed. I'm really happy that they made both of us eat our words. You really never expect these underdog teams to perform this well against some of our top teams, but we must also once again emphasize that most of this was due to Bolitar not being able to play the way he should have. So maybe him on Mastermind would have made the difference there, because I don't think I've ever seen Flix play Mastermind. I haven't seen him play Spirit before, so him matching the result still was amazing in the Spirit set. But yeah, Mastermind was pretty difficult, and we also must take into consideration that even though he may not have played Killer, he still played Survivor on that bad connection. So he was significantly nerfed. He his own ping was, I think, 30 higher by 30 than normal. But yeah, it's still unbelievable, I want to say, losing Severance this early, considering they were the 4th strongest team in the last tournament.